It's kind of that Super Bowl day for earnings. Nvidia, again. This one feels even more super to me. It feels like the market is leaning really heavily on what's going to happen. What do you expect to see? What do you hope to hear, perhaps?
I expect to see more of the same. I mean, we're talking about the world's largest company that should put up 50% plus revenue growth and earnings growth, and is still trading for less than 30 times forward earnings. I mean, so it's not richly valued. It's at the epicenter of the demand, and it's going to prove that this AI trend is here. But here's the key distinction. We've gone from a believe me that AI is a big deal to a show me. So you're going to have to see these companies continually put up better and better results in the coming quarters, because everyone is concerned that there's too much spending, that the demand is not going to catch up. So you're really going to have to see it with Nvidia. But we know it's coming because all the other major tech companies have reported, and they've all raised CapEx, shown better sales and earnings than anyone expected. So it's not much surprise. It is good, going to be good enough? I think so.
Taylor, what are you looking for?
Oh, gosh. Such a trick question in a way, because Lou, I think, said it really well. I have to agree. I mean, I think that all of this talk about sort of an AI bubble feels a little bit overdone to me. Here's a few notes that I see. AI revolution is in the top third inning, in our view. I did that for you, baseball lover, Brian.
Third inning. What does that
Top
even
of the
mean?
third.
Top of the third. What does that even? Okay, go ahead.
The away team's at bat is right what it means. Bears continue to talk about an AI bubble from their hibernation caves, but this is the fourth industrial revolution. It could keep this tech bull market alive for another 2 years. For every $1 spent on Nvidia, there's an $8 to $10 multiplier across the rest of the tech ecosystem. Those are sort of the bullish narratives that I hear. Nvidia is a totally different story from like a TJ Maxx or a Target, which we could talk about later when we think about the consumer and where we are in the consumer cycle. But you're starting to see good sort of mumblings underneath the surface within big tech, even though that's sort of nearing a correction in terms of Mag 7. Underneath the surface, the equal weight, don't kill me for saying that, starting to outperform the market weight, showing that outside of big tech, the rest of the market's finding a bottom, which I think bodes good good news and is good.
And it all comes down to earnings.
Right, like equal weight starting, that shows broad news and breadth, I think, in this market.
Yeah, the other 493 companies in the S&P 500, their earnings growth is accelerating as we go into 2026. So it's not surprising to see the equal weight index performing better at this time.
Here's one note. After years of underinvestment behind price and technology, at the most important time of the year, sales are decelerating.
Yeah.
TJ Maxx is the winner because they're able to capitalize on those deals. And they've just said on their call, they've entirely offset tariffs through cost mitigating strategies.
So you say that
you just can't beat their prices.
Right, but you say that it sounds like it's a Target problem, not a retail spending
I think it's a Target problem.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But you know what Target's doing? They're partnering with OpenAI and ChatGPT, and you can go type in, I'm hosting Thanksgiving, I need some fun placemats, blah, 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 blah. And then ChatGPT will tell you all the placemats you can get and all the candlestick holders, or I don't know what you put on your table, but you know.
Yeah, that kind of stuff.
Stuff like that. It'll tell you.
Candlestick holders.
But then you could tell ChatGPT to go price compare on Amazon
Well,
and find
that's
it's
the
the
thing.
best.
And then it'll go to.
There you go.
There used to be this thing like back 10, 15, maybe 20 years ago. It was called Price Grabber. And if you wanted a certain item, you could put it in there. It would show you every place online that was selling it, and you can pick the cheapest one to be able to buy it. That's what people want.
They've moved on. Bitcoin has not. Here's the problem, and Lou, maybe weigh in. We talked yesterday. It went below 90,000, but was able to rebound to 93. We're back below 90,000. What are sort of the key technical round levels that you like or don't like?
So I always struggle with this. Look, I believe crypto adoption is gaining in mainstream adoption, but how do you anchor any price level here? There's no fundamentals, right? I mean, it's really been a risk on, it's been a greed index for me. And right now, I think the cautiousness in the markets is being mirrored by the decline in Bitcoin. If you talk to the bulls, they think it's a great opportunity to keep stacking Bitcoin and build a war chest of it as the governments continue to print money and we deficit spend. If you talk to the bears, that this is just the froth coming out of the market. So I think probably back in the 70s, 70,000 range would be a compelling time to buy. I have a very small position, but again, I can't give you any fundamental reason strongly that's like, there's no metric like the PE is below 10. You got to go buy this
because
right
there's
now.
no fundamental way to analyze it.
I agree.
That is the root issue. It is the greater fool.
the deals are great, but I want to see it come to fruition. Where do you stand on that?
I'm in the same camp as you, that this is a pledge and a promise, and it hasn't materialized in anything practical yet. But I think this is important because the tally is probably close to $20 trillion worth of investments from foreign countries and U.S. companies in U.S. infrastructure and industry. I think the administration needs to do a really good job of selling the early results as we start to see these come to pass. As there's new pharmaceutical plants built in the country, as there's new semiconductor fabs stood up, as data centers create 10,000 new jobs per data center, they really have to do a great job of marketing that because, as you put a finger on it, it's going to take a long time for the results really to work their way through the entire economy. So it's not next quarter. It's probably a year to 18 months out before you really see that boom pick up. So it's a messaging issue more than it's a monetary issue right now.
Yeah.
I think the money's there and they're good for it, but again, it's going to take some time for the results to show up.
I don't know, though. I mean, like, it's an interesting point. Who's got whose ear on who? I think if China's in there with Saudi Arabia, they want oil and they want to learn whatever they can about America from Saudi Arabia.
But you have to remember, too, Saudi has to do things like this, make massive investments outside of oil because their break even on oil is $90 a barrel.
Yeah.
So they need other ways to generate economic power and leverage.
Agree.
And then they have a Warren Buffett problem because they can't go invest in micro and small caps. They have to invest in trends that could handle the capacity. I mean, we've explored deals with Saudis in terms of the oil and gas sector, and unless you have a capacity for them to invest $1 billion or more, that's not interested. They can't put the money to work. So this is an economic as much as it's a political move, I think.
It's like an interesting conundrum for
Yes.
them.
But it goes back to something that President Trump understands. Energy security is national security, and energy prosperity is relationship prosperity. And I think that this is an important component of bringing Saudi Arabia into the.
Well, I agree, and I think nuclear is the bridge to that reliability, security, independence. I mean, you can't get there on renewables. You don't want to rely entirely on fossil fuels, and nuclear, even though we've shunned it as a country for so long, is now coming back in vogue. And it's going to take us 5 to 7 years to get to a real nuclear generating capacity because we haven't built any nuclear reactors in forever.
3 Mile Island is coming back online in a year and a half.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
It is, and then we're going to learn how to do it more efficiently with each new one that we do. And I think you're going to look back, 10, 15 years from now, and 20% electricity generation will be through nuclear.
Quickly, a wild card. At that forum, like an hour ago, Elon Musk and Jensen Huang said that the next thing that they're sort of thinking about is AI satellites that's how we'll get our power, right? Because the satellite in space, you can get the sun energy. You don't need cooling, or they can cool it by radiation, so you don't need a battery. And if battery's like 90% of the weight, that's gone. And so they envision solar-powered, AI-powered, be hugely complicated and not happening tomorrow, but something that both of them are kind of nodding along as Elon Musk was saying that's sort of his next thing on his radar.
Yeah, I
Pretty
think
incredible.
the two of them can understand that concept. I don't think any of us can, right? It's a foreign. How does that work? Yeah.
As long as we don't give up.
Solar-powered AI satellites.
All that stuff sounds great. Just don't tell me we're going to do that and undermine our fossil fuel production. Yeah. I'm very happy with that, but don't make it a substitute for what we know works.
No, it's an energy addition.
China is using what works, coal.
Correct.
And that's why they can power all this AI.
But
it's an energy addition, not a transition away from anything. It's add more to the mix.
Well, the Energy Department is keeping open through a recent authority, a coal power plant in Michigan. So that's not shutting down.
There you go.
They understand, and there's another nuclear
And clean
plant
coal is real. Emissions from coal have gone down about 70 to 80%, whether you look at NOx or SOx, all the criteria are pollutants. So it's not dirty and polluting like the media has made it out to be.
That's true, and Trump will bring it back, but then if you get a Democrat in office, they'll try to kill it again.
There is no reason
There's
on planet Earth that these people need to own individual securities, including futures and options, and trade them.
100% agree with you unequivocally. Congress members should not be the best performing investors on Wall Street. Do we outright ban it? I don't know, but here's what I can tell you. I'm on the board of 2 public companies. I work for a public company. I was an investment banker and a broker-dealer. There are so many strict regulations and well-worn regulations about timing investments and when it's allowed and when it's not allowed. They have definitive access to material non-public information. It's a no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You shouldn't be allowed to trade on that.
So
have never owned individual securities, and I've worked in financial journalism for over 30 years. And quite frankly, you will, in mutual funds and ETFs, beat people who individual stocks anyway.
I take issue with his first point, though, because the rank and file in publicly traded companies absolutely have more context than the average investor on Main Street. There's a definitive advantage that they have being in Congress and knowing what's being considered and hearing conversations. Does it cross and breach the level of materiality as defined by FINRA? I don't know, but I think it's pretty slippery slope to say that they don't have an advantage by being in those conversations.
Dagan, I think you nailed it. I always love just investing in the S&P 500 because I know in the long run, generally, I'll do pretty well. So if I have a member of Congress who comes up to me and says, "You're taking away my livelihood," not if it's in a blind trust or not if it's in just an index fund. So I think that sort of helps snuff out that idea. Here's another thought. Anytime we interview an analyst, let's say I want to interview an analyst who covers Uber stock, they have to disclose if they own Uber stock. If they have a buy rating, I want to know if you own it or if your firm was involved in the IPO of that company. We could also do something like that where they are required in real time. I don't want this like a 13F filing. Here's what I owned as of September 30.
Right.
I kind of want to know in real time, what are you buying and selling? In addition to the puts and calls, because I think that's the Pelosi play. And then there's more transparency of what they own.
Yeah, look, we have the regulations and the systems to handle this. It's called Form 4s, insider filings, right? We can just create a similar mirrored system that we have on Wall Street for K Street. Again, there should be ways for them to invest, but I think you've brought up the opportunities. Blind trust, maybe there's trading windows, maybe there's certain restrictions on what they can buy and sell. We can't block them out completely, but right now, just them having unfettered access to information and any option to invest.
Maybe that's a self-imposed term limit, though, too, right? So if you're banned while you're in office, maybe you won't be in office and be a lifer.
That's why I like it. That's why
amusement parks and experiences like this certainly are something wonderful if you can afford them, but when they start to become onerous to the budget, it becomes hard. So
yeah. I've never been one to really indulge in these amusement parks. I lived in Orlando for 15 years. The average family spends anywhere from $7,000 to $10,000 on a week-long trip there, which is just blows my mind. I think what you're seeing from the credit card data is people are still spending on the experiences, but they're tightening their belts on the add-ons and the extras in the park. I think this is a really difficult thing for Disney, for Dollywood, for Universal. I think this is not a problem that goes away easily. I don't think people just all of a sudden come into money.
Hollywood's awesome, and I love a good water park, even like kind of a gross, dirty water park.
Yeah.
You're just rolling.
I grew up with Action Park, New Jersey.
Yes,
that was
You're rolling the dice on that E. coli, baby.
Basenese, thank you. Always great to see you.